G'day, Trooper Cody and Steve here. It's a Light Horse story, but I'm going to start with an expression from the British Army, which is a forlorn hope. This goes back hundreds of years, and what the forlorn hope was basically a suicide mission. It meant that you were going to go and do something and you were more than likely going to get killed and not come back. So you'd think by the First World War the forlorn hope was finished, because it's just a ridiculous thing. But Gallipoli, 1915, 1916, about 8 months, was horrendous. The losses were staggering. So what I'm going to try and do is tell you about one incident that occurred at Gallipoli, and it occurred on the 7th of August 1915, and I'm sure all Australians, every Australian knows about Gallipoli, and I'm sure most have heard of the Neck, N-E-K. The Neck could best be described, I suppose, as a 40-metre wide bridge, because it was a strip of land that fell away both sides. It was only 40 metres wide. So if you imagine your average tennis court, perhaps, tennis court, so you imagine that tennis court with its high fences to stop is where the neck is, a bridge across. But at the other end of that tennis court where the fences are, you have the Australian trenches, and the other end of that tennis court you had the Turkish trenches. In the Turkish trenches were 500 Turkish soldiers spread across just 40 metres. With them were 5 brand new German Maxim machine guns. In the Australian trenches were the 8th and 10th Light Horse. There was 600 of them. They were in 4 batches of 150. So just again give you a bit of an idea. You imagine 8 AFL football teams, fit young guys, prime of their life, and so there's 150 of them in the trench. They were supposed to run across that 40 metres and attack the 500 Turks in the trench with 5 machine guns. The plan was that the Navy were going to start shelling the Turkish trenches. The shelling would stop at 4:30 a.m. and immediately the shelling stopped before the Turks could come. They would take cover before they could come back to the trench. 150 Australian soldiers would jump up with empty rifles, because the officers said if you've got bullets you're going to be naffing around trying to load your gun, so we're not going to have any bullets. You're going to charge with a bayonet. The Australian troops are in the trench waiting, watching the clock. The bombardment starts. At 4:23 a.m. the bombardment stops, 7 minutes early. The officers in the trench, Australian officers, are thinking, have we got the time wrong? Should we attack? Shouldn't we attack? So what's going on? Are they saving ammo? Are they going to... So for 7 minutes the Australians in the trenches see the Turks slowly come back to the trenches. Then the Turks know an attack is coming because of the bombardment, which always precludes the attack by the foot soldiers. So the Turks, 500 over 40 metres, can you imagine how crowded they were? They were so crowded that the blokes started climbing out of the Turkish trench and then sitting on the sandbags, waiting for the Australians. More Turks climb out of the trench and they stand behind the blokes that are sitting down. Having 7 minutes of preparation, the whistle blows and 150 prime, fit, young Australian Light Horse step out of the trench to attack with bayonets, and most of them take 1 or 2 steps before their machine gun dead. They were all lying dead. Does someone have a brain and realise how ridiculous this is? No. Second troop, whistle blows, second wave of 108 footy teams, 150 men, leap out of the trench trying to step over their dead friends, and they are completely mown down. What then happens is the Turks start shouting in Turkish, but the word they are shouting is stop, stop. The Turks are asking the Australians to stop committing suicide. Finally, what happens in the trenches, an Australian officer decides this is goddamn madness. We are not going to do it with the third wave. He is about to give that order when an Australian sergeant, brave, waves how goddamn ridiculous. That's the end of the video. Thank you.